You are about to listen to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast, hosted by Craig Forrestall. Find Craig on Twitter at that_sports_guy. The That Sports Guy podcast is proudly featured by NFL Draft Diamonds, your draft coverage king. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some football talk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. I am Craig Forrestall. You might know me from Twitter as at that_sports_guy. And with us today is former West Virginia offensive lineman Chase Behrndt. Chase, first and foremost, happy birthday, and how are you today?
I appreciate that, man. Been having a good day, good weekend. Family came up and visited me. Really got to do some stuff around Rapid City and really just enjoyed my time. Then got back to work today and everything seemed to go really good.
Wonderful. And now, Chase, I want to ask you about where it is your story starts out. You grew up in Missouri. What's it like growing up in Wildwood, Missouri?
For me, I mean, I think that I had a pretty typical childhood. Really just played sports my entire life. I'd say started playing baseball and probably when I was about 5 or 6 years old, transitioned to basketball about the same exact time. Football came a little bit later in third grade. To me, childhood was pretty much sports, having a good time, hanging out with friends and family. And that's pretty much what it was for me experience wise.
And now you touched a little bit upon the sports. You have a strong wrestling background.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about your accomplishments as a wrestler? And then can you give us maybe a favorite memory of some of those little league sports?
Yeah. So wrestling really didn't start for me until freshman year of high school. Really never one of those sports that came to my mind. And actually he was the head coach at the high school for wrestling. And he was one of our defensive coaches. His name's John Sumner. He came up to me and started talking to me about all the benefits. And I really just started looking into it and looking at all these guys that have been really just have excelled in their careers, whether it's in sports or life. And a lot of them do have wrestling backgrounds. And I thought that was a mold that I really took on, that I knew that I had those qualities that a wrestler has, and really could just carry it over into my life and have wrestling be a part of me. And so, I mean, for starting as a freshman in high school, I ended up, by the time I was a senior, I was a state finalist. Lost my junior year in the finals. Senior year, didn't have it. I think that my semis match my senior year definitely should have been the state finals match. But I mean, there's really not much you can do about that one. But that being said, even though I lost in both of those, still came in and 3-time All-American in high school, went to some national tournaments and really excelled in them. I think that it was just the competition aspect, but when you're in high school wrestling and you're sitting there just looking over your opponents day after day, seeing who's going up in rankings, who's going down in rankings, and looking at a set group of guys that really are the only people you're going to be facing. It's one of those things I think I just overthought a lot of the times. And when I went to national tournaments, I mean, there would be guys that I'd pin in the third period and get off the mat, and my coach would be like, "Hey, I didn't want to tell you this before the match, but that guy was a 3-time state champ." And I think that when it came to the competition aspect, I really was just thrown into it. Like, "Hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. All right, well, you better be ready. We're going to get you ready, and you're going to wrestle the best of the best." And so that was pretty much the mindset that I went into onto the wrestling mat with in each one of those. And it ended up working out really well for me.
And now, Chase, let's move over to the recruiting process. What was the recruiting process in football like for you back in high school?
I mean, I would say to me, it really wasn't as lavish as some of the stuff you see. I definitely had my fair share of offers and I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed the process in general. A lot of schools. So for me, the biggest part is that my dad was really heavy onto it. My grandpa played college football. My dad played college football. My brother played college football. So for me to get there, like I knew the process by the time it was my turn. And so, I mean, every weekend that I wasn't wrestling or doing something else, we were in the car. We would go to we'd go to the state of Indiana. I would go to Purdue, I'd go to Indiana, and I would go to about two other schools in those states. And that was pretty much all my weekends would consist of. We're going to junior days or to camps. And so when I got offered from West Virginia, I literally immediately when that visit was over, I got a call from Pitt. Pitt wanted me to come up. So, I mean, like little tasks like that, I mean, we would do each weekend, and it seemed like that's all we did for a while. So even I would say my recruiting process was a grind for me that really just carried over into my playing career, and just knowing that it's always just a constant grind.
And now you're athletic enough to pull off a cartwheel, and have said that you'd one day like to give WWE a shot. Chase, talk about the character you envision yourself being, and how did that idea come about?
Well, so that's one thing that I've always just been infatuated with. I think that's one of the coolest things out there. I love the characters. I love really just everything about, from at least what I've seen as a fan, like just the whole situation and what they do for a living. I think would just be a really fun time, and it'd be a hell of a job to have. I think that it'd be something that you would look forward to every day. And I mean, for me, from what I've heard, it's one of those things that they put you into a character, like that's your mold. But the one thing I want to do, like that would be like my main thing. I don't know if anyone would be ready for it, but it's bringing back like the Attitude Era. Because I know growing up, and growing up in the early 2000s really was like the end of the Attitude Era. But that was the time where I feel like there was the most viewers, like everyone was watching it of all ages. And I feel like they've just kind of gotten away from that. And that's definitely something that if I ever did join that business, I would want to probably have a role in trying to bring some of that old rich history that they had, where it seemed like that was a show that everyone was watching.
And now you've played everywhere on the offensive line while at West Virginia, seeing time at tackle, guard, and center. Chase, talk about which position you feel is your strongest.
For me, I would say that I I would definitely go with center, and I mean that's the one that I've honestly been playing the shortest amount of time. Um, Guard was one of those things that kind of came natural to me. I mean, and being a young guy, I feel like when you're on an offensive line, yeah, you can be a tackler, you can be a center, but if you're a younger guy that really just needs to learn the ropes and all that, you're most likely going to end up playing guard. And so that's where that one came in. And I was helped along the way from a lot of great guys, and really just learned the ropes of everything. But when it was my time and I was put into a leadership role at center, I think that that's just something that I thrived in. I love being a leader. I love having some great guys follow me and being a part of the process. Eyes are always on you, and I mean, if you make bad calls, it's going to affect the team, and that's just the pressure added onto that is just something that I've always really enjoyed. So I think that position for me was definitely the greatest suit that I've had on the field.
And now, Chase, can you talk about your overall game by giving us a self-scouting report? And if you feel there is a certain scheme or system that you fit best with?
See, for me, I feel that when I went into college, we had Dana Holgerson, who was primarily air raid, and Neil Brown's kind of more of the spread offense with an up tempo and really just quick game planning. And I feel like for me, there's never really been an offense or a defense that I've molded into. It's been something that, I mean, that I just learned the ropes from the beginning, and like we just got to go with that and roll with the punches. And I feel like I don't really have a specific offense that I work best in. I think that I just try and blend in and try and get as much try and soak in as much information as I can about the offense and try and learn every bit about it. Um, but yeah, that's what I would say. But for game planning for me, I would say I'm a pretty solid pass blocker. That's pretty much my main bread and butter. Definitely can work on my hip game when it comes into the run game. I feel like my hips hold me back a little bit, and that's just something that I've been trying to work on, especially in this training period, and just trying to fix the little parts of my game, which is just odd for me because I mean I love run blocking, but I've always known that I can definitely work on it. I mean, when it comes to football, I feel like there's always something that you can work on, and I would say that's probably the lower part of my game, but it's definitely one that I really enjoy doing that. I think that the more I focus on it, the better I'll get at it.
And now I want to go back to something you were talking about a couple of minutes ago, and that's leadership. Chase, you're known as a strong leader. Can you discuss your leadership style and why you feel it's important for you to take on that leadership role?
So for me, throughout my I would say entire careers, high school, middle school, college, I've been under a lot of leaders that have been good, a lot that have been bad. And I think that while following those guys, I learned a lot of my best qualities in being a leader and just took some from other guys that, they weren't so good at it. And um, I really just tied it into my own philosophies with stuff. And that's that. I mean, everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves to, have people trust in them. And that was one of the main things that I would do as a leader, and that's that I never treated anyone different. I was friends with everyone. They could always come to me, and even me as a leader, I could always go to them. And it's just a big trust basis. I think that the more that you trust each other and enjoy each other, especially on the O line, just the overall better you're going to be. And I mean, especially my last year at West Virginia, we were probably one of the closest lines there is out there. And I mean, we're all a bunch of different guys, but we all meshed together and all came together when the going got tough, and really just turned around a lot from the previous year as an O-line, and really just got after it this year.
And Chase, you also had a chance to compete at the College Gridiron Showcase. What did getting an invite to that event mean to you, and how was your experience?
I'd say my overall experience is pretty good. I mean, got to be entered more into the process of what it's like after college. Got a lot of tips on the basically financials or just life after football. It meant a lot because it was one of those realizations like, hey, you're good enough to be at this next level, and other people see that in you, and you definitely can have this opportunity to try and showcase yourself. And just getting in front of people and being around a great group of guys, like all the guys that were there were all friendly, all good guys, and just had a hell of a time out there.
And now, Chase, can you take us through how you're currently training for your NFL opportunity?
Yeah. So my brother is actually the head strength coach out here at a D2 school, and they have me, or he has me working out away from those teams and hours where we can clean up and all that and make sure that everything's COVID or doing COVID protocols. And I mean, we're great about that. And for me, it's very, very heavy stuff. Monday and Tuesday, Wednesdays running, Thursdays, a little bit lighter because Friday's our big testing day where we do all of our testing. And I mean, with these days included, stay pretty hard on the nutrition, and a lot of football drills included when we're done working out. And I'd say that's about it for me, training wise.
And then, Chase, let's sort of just build off of that last question. And what are your short-term and long-term football goals?
I would say that my short-term goals right now is just, I mean, honestly, to make a team. That's my biggest goal. I'm very hard on myself about goals and what I set my mind to, and I usually end up accomplishing them when I work hard enough. And that's definitely my short-term goal. My long-term goal is just to be the best football player I could possibly be for as long as that lasts. I know the NFL is not a fairy tale world, and you got to work your ass off to survive in it. And that's definitely something I'm willing to do. And I just want to reach the best of my abilities when it comes to that.
And now, Chase, we've spent a good amount of time getting to know you on the field, but I have a few non-football questions for us to get to know you away from the game. You ready for those?
Yep.
All right. First question. If you found a time machine and could either go back 2,500 years and be king of a large country, or fast forward 1,500 years and live on a different planet, what would your choice be?
For me, that I can see people thinking this is a hard one. I'm definitely going back in time. I'm with looking at history here, and just, I mean, the past few decades. I mean, you go back to the 80s. I was talking about this the other day with one of my buddies. I mean, you go, and I can't imagine what it was like to go to college without having a computer or having anything like that. But I mean, I can't imagine what the technology is going to be like 1,500 years from now. I think that I would get there and I would not have a single clue what to do, wouldn't know how to take care of myself. And I think that being in the history books as a ruler would be pretty cool.
What's your favorite home cooked meal?
This one's a little different. My favorite thing to cook at home is sushi. During quarantine, each week I would try to learn a new thing to make and see. I love cooking and all that, and see if I could have the abilities to make certain things. I really got hooked on sushi. I realized that during the week I was probably spending about $100 eating something that really cost about $25 to $30 to make a decent amount of. And so I sat down, learned how to do it, watched a good amount of videos, read some stuff, and bought some kits. And that's definitely one of my favorite things to make.
What's a secret or hidden talent that you have?
Oh man, I honestly don't know on this one. I would say for me, it's definitely music. There's there's songs. I mean, you hear them over and over again, and I would say it takes me about 2 or 3 times to listen to a song throughout, and I pretty much know every word to it. And that was one of my things in the locker room. I love getting on the aux and playing music for everyone because people were like, "Wow, I forgot about this song. This song's awesome." And so that was one of my favorite things to do. And I mean, I'm just huge on music. It's one of my favorite things in the world, and really, it's something that can carry on with you like through any situation you're in, any mood you're in, and there's just always something there for it. So I'd say I don't know if that's much of a talent, but that's definitely like my biggest thing.
What's your dream car?
Oh, have you seen the new H3, or not H3, but just the new Hummer? There's a new Hummer coming out. I'm not sure when it does, but that thing's pretty sweet. It's electric. I'm not a huge electric car guy, but looking at that thing, it's like a Hummer truck. And I think that that's just a pretty sweet car that I think would be pretty fun to have.
And Chase, final question that I have for you. If you were invisible for a day, what would you do?
Oh, man. Oh, I think that I would just try and sneak into every event I possibly could. I don't know why. I think that just being there and no one knowing that you're there and just walking around laughing and having a good time would be really fun to do while being invisible.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is former West Virginia offensive lineman Chase Behrndt. Everyone pay attention to Chase as we get closer to the NFL draft. He's solid in pass protection, has had ample time to work on his pro day and agility testing regimen as he's out there in South Dakota putting in that work. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, that's Chase Behrndt. I'm Craig Forrestall. Stay safe and be easy.
Hey everybody, Craig Forrestall. Thanks for tuning in and listening to another episode of That Sports Guys podcast. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at that_sports_guy to catch all the latest updates and podcast episodes. Until next time, stay safe and be easy.